welcome back to another episode. And for those who don't know me, I'm Dion, and I'm just so passionate about landscape and wildlife photography. It's all about chasing that light, that perfect light, capturing a moment in time to cherish forever. In today's tutorial, we'll be editing a wildlife portrait and how we add drama and mood to an image, just bringing out those rich colors and drama and changing the mood of that image. So sit back and relax and enjoy this tutorial with me, and hope to see you in upcoming videos. I'll be traveling, leaving New Zealand to the Kalahari Desert in South Africa, Botswana and Namibia on an epic photographic trip, which I'll be sharing with you on this channel. So stick around, stay tuned, and see you soon in the next one. Right, welcome back to another tutorial, and today we're going to be editing this image, a portrait, a wildlife portrait of a lion. As you can see, it's slightly overexposed. There's a lot of green background here which we want to get rid of. What we're trying to achieve in this tutorial is trying to get a dark, dramatic, moody portrait of this lion. So before we get into the editing, this is a raw image brought into Lightroom Classic, and it's just been cropped, as you can see here. The second thing is we need to decide where the light source is coming from. Now, I start always looking at where there are some shadows. So it's down here on the neck here and a bit more on this side. So it's telling me the light's sort of coming in from the top, from the right. Okay, now that we've decided where we're going to be angling our light sources from the top right hand corner down at it sort of at a 45-degree angle, the first thing I want to do with this image is tone down the highlights. I'm going to reduce the whites a bit, and I'm going to bring down the overall exposure of the image just slightly to about there. Right, the next thing we want to do is we want to select the background with the mask, and we go here where the circle is here, and we click on there, and we want to select the background. Now AI is going to detect the background for us. Done a good job. And what I want to do is I like to desaturate the background, because we don't want vivid colors in the back. Desaturate it quite a lot to about there. We want to bring down the temperature as well, the back, and most importantly we want to bring down the exposure of the back to about there. As you can see, there's still a bit of green sticking out in the fur here. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, to get rid of that there, we need to add onto that mask. So we're going here to this mask and we select the add button, and we're just going to brush that in with a, you can just scroll your mouse up and down your wheel to make the brush larger or smaller, and we're going to go to about a 60% density and a full 100% feather. So what we're going to do is we're just adding that. The next thing we want to do is select another mask, create a new mask, and we're going to go down to radial gradient, and we're going to be drawing a radial gradient over the face of a lion here, and just turn it at an angle. Now, just keeping in mind the light source is coming from here, so we want to move it slightly over to that side, like that. Just going to make it slightly bigger to about there. And what we want to do with this mask, we want to invert, because we want to keep this section of the face of the lion brighter, and the surrounding areas like a vignette darken the outer edges. So we're going to go here, and we're going to just say invert the mask. And with this mask selected now, we're going to bring down the exposure slightly to about, I'd say about there. Now, one more mask. I'm going to create another one, and we're actually going to select the subject, the entire line. AI has detected it, and what we want to do is actually drop down the exposure slightly of the line as well. Just a bit like that. Increase the blacks. What we want to do is also add a little bit of texture. I like to actually minimize the clarity. Others like to increase it, but I always sort of keep it balanced a bit to soften the image a bit, and counteracting that with a bit of texture. And because of the mood, we want to create a bit of a dehaze to the left. Now that we've got our three masks set here, we've got basically our tools now to manipulate the brightness of the face of the line and manipulate the overall background darkness and the mood of the image. So we can actually go back to the background, and I'm going to push it a bit more, the limit, and start increasing a bit more of those dramatic blacks, not too much. Reduce the exposure even slightly more. Bring the temperature down a bit more as well. And with the background, we actually want to reduce the clarity and reduce the texture on the back, just to add that overall mood on the background. We can give it a bit of dehaze as well. Next thing we want to do is we want to bring in a light source. So we're going to create another mask, another radial gradient. And this time we're going to just draw it in from there. Narrow, bring it to an angle. About there. And then what we want to do is here is on this mask 4, we're going to increase the whites, bring in a bit of dehazing, not that much, to about there. And what I want to do is we actually want to not overexpose the face. So what we're going to do is this light is sort of falling behind the line. And what we can do is here, we can actually intersect mask with select background. So it only applies to the background. And there we go, you can see that the light is just sort of coming past to the back of the line and not directly onto the face. We'll give it a bit more light here at a later stage in the process. Overall, we still want to tone down the whole image to get to our desired dramatic portrait effect. Now that we've deselected the face here now, we can go back to that mask and we can just play around with that and actually increase some dehazing there, the back. Add a bit of mood there with the light falling through. I'm pretty happy with that. And we can go back to mask number 1, which is the background. If you're not sure, just hover your mouse over the little square image. It will show you what's in red is the actual mask. And we can go ahead and actually increase the blacks and increase the shadows as well, reduce the highlights, reduce the whites, and reduce the overall exposure to about there. You still want some texture and some light in the background, not complete black. Next thing, we're going to go back to mask number 3, which is the line again, the actual face, and we want to start bringing this down as well. So we're going to start increasing the blacks, reduce the highlights slightly. I'd leave the whites, well, let's just do a touch down and then bring down the actual exposure of the line. That's too much. I'd say to about there. Just want to go back to the light source, mask number 4, and just want to slightly enlarge this a bit more. and just change the angle a bit and bring it a bit more down to, I'd say, about there. Now we want to get really down to specific areas of the face of the lion where the light source is, and what we actually want to do here now is bring in a brush, and we're going to be brushing this side of the lion, really targeting certain specific areas. And what we want to do with this brush as well, we're going to just bring the density down to about 45, the feather to 100. And what we want to do here is increase the highlights, increase the exposure slightly, increase the whites as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to paint this in, and we're going to do it after we've selected the area. Even if you go over, doesn't matter, we're going to intersect it, selecting just the subject. So what we want to do is we want to highlight this part of the line. And a bit there on the little highlight there. I'd say about that. And then what we want to do is we're actually going to intersect this marks with select subject, so it's only on the subject, and it's tidied that up so it hasn't brought an additional exposure or light to the back of the line. It's just targeted the actual subject, which is a great tool, really being specific about targeting the areas that you want to highlight. What I also like doing is zooming into the eyes, and we're going to create another mask here with a brush, a small brush. And what we want to do is here bring up the highlights and exposure and the saturation, and we want to bring up the temperature slightly as well, just to highlight these eyes. Not go making it look unnatural, but just to make the eyes pop. And you can increase this, custom this by the slider here, the amount. So to about there, pretty happy with that. So this part of the left hand side of the line is still a bit too light for me, because we want to really emphasize this light coming in from the one side. So once again, go to the mask tool, and we're going to be creating another brush, and this time is we want to bring down the exposure, we want to increase the blacks, reduce the whites, and reduce the highlights. And with density, we're going to bring it just gentle down to about 38. And the size, you can just play around with the wheel on the mouse, and we're going to just be darkening this up a bit. Like that. Alright, now that we've created most of the dramatic mood and the lighting, we want to actually target the lion colors. And for me, it's slightly on the yellow side. I like the golden colors, but I just want to make them slightly richer. So now we're going to be making global adjustments. Now that we've desaturated the background, the real colors remain only in the line, really. So we're going to go down to the HSL, the color mixer, and on the saturation, we want to bring up those oranges. Not too much. Want to bring up the reds. Want to reduce the yellow slightly. In actual fact, we need to reduce the oranges a bit. We go to the luminance. We can darken these oranges and darken the reds and darken the yellows slightly. Just looking at the background, it is a bit too cold for me. So once again, we're going back to the mask panel. going back to the background, and we actually are going to warm it back up a bit. So there's not such a big contrast between the line, the foreground, and the background. And I'll take it to about there. Alright, at this stage now we want to bring in a bit of a vignette, right, go down to the bottom on the effects tab down here, and we're just going to be bringing in a slight vignette. You can also use a denoise function if you like to reduce your noise. If it's a raw image, you can go down here and denoise it, which I recommend. I won't be doing it for this example. Pretty happy with the sharpness. We don't want to over sharpen the image with this moody, dramatic lighting. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the image. Hope you enjoyed this basic editing tutorial on wildlife portrait photography. I hope and trust you've picked up one or two tips along the way which will enhance your editing techniques. If you did find it useful, please give us a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated and it helps my channel grow. Upcoming in the next couple of videos, preparing to go to Botswana, Namibia and the Kalahari Desert in South Africa for an absolute epic photographic trip, which I'll be sharing with you on this channel. So please stay tuned. For those who have Photoshop, we're going to save this file and open it up in Photoshop and do a bit of dodge and burning just to give it those final professional touches. And yeah, so stick around if you are interested. So to do your dodging and burning, it's recommended that you create a new layer in Photoshop. So we hit that, layer 1. And what we want to do is we want to bring in a full layer, a 50% gray layer, hit OK, and just changes from normal to overlay. So we can't see it. And now we're going to go to the dodge and burning tool, and at the moment this is on a dodge, so to increase the highlights we can set the exposure here. I'd say we're just around 60%, and a soft brush, just want to increase the brush size a bit more. Straight after this I'm going to show you a couple of more edited photographs, so enjoy and thank you, and I'll see you again soon in the next video. Right, we just want to bring this exposure a bit down. Let's just start off a bit lower, and because we can always increase the opacity here, reduce it all. And I'd say there, leave it at that. I'm not going to do any burning. I think it's dark enough on the sides and on the side of the face. So I'm pretty happy with that.